Good morning and welcome to the Abundant Retirement Show here on Rewind. Don Ross, the retirement boss from Ross Wealth Advisors, is in the house. It's good to see you. Look a lot more rested this week than you did last week. I know you didn't get a lot of sleep because of the royal wedding, and you were up a lot. So I'm glad to see you. You're looking a lot better this week. That's a good thing.
All's good.
It's a very good thing.
Can't say the same for you. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I'm just dragging today. It's just one of those things.
Brutal
in here. You just never know. But we're here every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on Rewind, and it's the Abundant Retirement Show from Ross Wealth Advisors.
Yep.
That pretty much says everything there is to say. Well, it gives you an idea of what there is going to be for you to hear today, and it's all about your abundant retirement. I mean, just retirement is not really good enough. An abundant retirement, however you measure that, is what Ross Wealth Advisors is all about.
Yeah, and you don't have to be retired. I mean, we have retired clients, but I want to help you make sure if you're 5 to 10 years out, you're looking at everything, taxes, your investments, and we're going to go over some of that today. We've been in the series, The Myths of Retirement.
Yes, the myths. We've come to number 4. 4 out of 4.
4 out of 4.
Number 1, of course, was, very plain and simple. Number 1 is that retirement is a number.
Right.
And I think that's probably the biggest one of all that people buy into because they've either been misguided or not necessarily informed correctly that retirement is a number, and that's not true.
Right. It's like you don't save up to a certain number and then your time to retire. It's so much more than that. So number 2.
Indeed. Number 2 was the spending a consistent amount in retirement.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen because we have inflation. Very, very important. And we discussed some things there. And by the way, all the listeners, if you ever email me, we're going to make sure you get a copy of our podcast, which of course is the show here in digital form that you can listen to whenever you want. So.
Absolutely. So in case you happen to miss any of the first 3 myths, you can go back and hear them as well. Number 3 out of the list of 4 is retirement means not working.
That's true.
Not
that is a myth. That is a myth.
It could or it could not, but it is largely a myth.
A lot of our clients work, and we defined last week what work is meaning is maybe a part-time job. You go back and consult with the company you're with, or I got a client that's always wanted to wrench on cars, and when he left the tech field, he has a spare garage, and he's fixing everybody's cars now.
There you go. So
and for pennies on the dollar, probably.
The idea of not working is indeed myth number 3. Before we get to myth number 4, let me just mention real quickly, when you do hear information here about Ross Wealth Advisors, you will want to get in touch with them and have a one-on-one with Don. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit you and your life partner. It's going to benefit your future, and it's really easy to do. Simply pick up the phone if you'd like to do that. You can do it right now, as a matter of fact. 614-545-0277 to schedule a one-on-one. If you just want more information before you take that next step, that's real easy too. RossWealthAdvisors.com. And even easier than picking up the phone and making a phone call, just send a text to Ross Wealth Advisors. It's 797979. Right there, 797979. That's all there is to it.
You know what? Maybe explain how that works.
Sending a text.
My wife was like, "Where do you put the 79?" That's the 2. that's the 2 box.
Yeah. The 797979 would be the text phone number, for lack of a better way of putting it. I know that's not the correct term, but if you were going to be sending a text to me, you would put my phone number in and send me a text.
In this case, you're going to put 797979, or maybe one day I'll get Don 123.
You never know.
Who knows?
And people say, well, that's not enough numbers for a phone number. It doesn't matter. With
works.
Texting, it doesn't make any difference. 6 digits work, 4 digits work, 2 digits work, but in this case, it's 6, and it's 2. It's 3 of the same twice. 797979.
And that's how we communicate with a lot of our clients who are anywhere from 50 to 80 years old. We have them all different ways. So phone, texting, or, of course, my email, Joe. And
email is, and the unique thing about emailing Don is that you're emailing Don Ross. When you send an email to don@rosswealthadvisors.com, it goes to don@rosswealthadvisors.com.
I reply.
It doesn't go into a mailbox that somebody sifts through and hands it out to the junior guy on the team. I mean, it goes to Don, and Don replies. So
most of what I found is even last week when I got a few calls, they just like to call, and at this time of day, you're going to get an answering service, but they notify me immediately, and I will call you or text you. And if you want to talk on a Sunday afternoon to see what your concerns are, I'm more than happy to do that. So
there's something about Ross Wealth Advisors that maybe other companies might claim, but I know that you do, and that is providing world-class service. And an example of it that you just gave. If it's you've got time on a Sunday afternoon, and that's when you want to have a little chit chat with Don, he's available.
I did it just a couple weeks ago.
Unless the royal wedding is on, in which case he can't pull himself away from that. But other than that,
there shouldn't be one for a while.
No, hopefully not.
What's William's kids now? 3-4 years old. So.
Yeah, so we've got a little ways to go. Little ways to go. So listen, if you're retired or retirement minded, 5 to 10 years from retirement, at least in your mind, that's where you think you are. It can't hurt you at all to contact Ross Wealth Advisors.
Absolutely.
And sit down for a one-on-one with Don. Worst case scenario is you spend an hour of your time and find out that everything you're doing is absolutely right, and you just got a nice big free helping of peace of mind.
That's right. Peace of mind, what's it all about?
And that is taking us to myth
number 4. Joe,
which is having a plan is enough.
Okay, remember, a myth means that it's not the fact.
True.
So having a plan is not enough. Now,
it is important.
It's
incredibly important.
Very important.
We preach it we preach it constantly.
But see, here's what I see every day, that people come they come to me because they want a look at what they're doing, and they say, "Yes, I have a financial plan."
Yes.
But that financial plan, even in our office, the day it's written, we consider it obsolete because things are always going to change, and the guarantee you have in life is curveballs.
And so change. Change is a guarantee. The only guarantee.
Death,
You're
taxes,
right.
and change.
It's the 3, DTC. You got to get all 3.
Righto. So if you have a plan and you're comfortable with it, we don't need to talk. But many of you have a plan, but it's not a written, detailed plan. And that's what I want to put together for you that looks at, even if you're 10 years out, we can start planning what is year 1, 2, all the way through 30 of retirement. And, if you saved at least $250,000, reach out to me in any format, texting, email, go to the website even and learn more about me, and we'll cover more of that. But I want it to be available to you because there are going to be changes that your plan may not address. For instance, remember the interest rates in the 1970s and 80s? Okay. What if we have that again?
Yeah. Wow.
Family priorities change. Spending patterns will change. Employment income will change until or in your retirement. Health is the biggest one.
And again, it at some point for everyone, in fact.
Yeah.
It is going to become an issue one way or another.
The top 4 concerns for all of you interested, and these aren't the myths, these are facts.
These are factual.
Am I going to run out of money?
Yes.
Am I invested appropriately? Will I pay too much taxes? And the big one is healthcare.
Yeah,
it scares a lot of people. And, there's a lot of singles and widows out there, and I work with a lot of singles and widows, and some of you don't have someone to bounce ideas off of. And, if you are single or widowed or widower, I want to sit down with you as well. So
I had a conversation with an acquaintance it's probably been a few months ago now at this point. I was going to say a few weeks ago. It's been longer than that. And he is 63, and he was planning to retire last year.
Yep.
And he believed he had all of his ducks in a row. Guess what he overlooked?
I don't know.
In all of his planning, healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
He overlooked that one element. Now, one element, but it's a big element. And he found out that really to be able to live the way he wanted to have an abundant retirement, he couldn't do it yet because he hadn't planned for that one element, and that was healthcare. And it was not going to allow him to do what he wanted to do the way he wanted to do it. So, again, you've got to touch all those bases and make sure that plan does have all those things covered.
Absolutely. So what other changes can happen with a plan that you have in place? Tax change. I mean, look at this new tax law we have in 2018. It's still confusing tax preparers.
Yes.
So we need to address that. Yeah. And on that note, I've created a team of experts. I have a healthcare expert, tax, investment, and estate planning. You can learn all that on the website at rosswealthadvisors.com that we provide that. And that's very appealing to many individuals. I had a client that just yesterday was sharing with me. We were having some drinks together and said, He told why he shared with me why he and his wife chose us, and it's because he liked the business model that we have, and he was a businessman, sold his company, and he's retired, and he just said, I like the business model and how you make decisions, and of course the integrity. So, what else is going to change a financial plan you have in place? How about market cycles? Now, this is where I really want to help you. We have bull markets, bear markets, flat markets, and volatility.
The old V word is coming back.
Oh, yeah. So, and this is very, very important. This is also whether I develop a written income plan for you. The first thing we got to do, Joe, is I got to look at your portfolio and make sure if you're 50, 60, 70, you don't have a portfolio that's as risky as a 25-year-old.
Right. You're not playing the Vegas tables, because that, you win or lose. I mean, that's fine when
you don't have time on your side,
plenty of time to recover from it, but when it's at your door, you don't have time.
So, in addition to a written plan that I want to provide, I also want to provide, if you saved at least $250,000 for retirement, my portfolio MRI, I try to talk about every week because that's the foundation of your fiscal health.
That's where it starts.
Your investments.
That is absolutely where it starts.
It's a good start.
Yeah, I mean that's the initial visit to the doctor. You go in. The first thing he does is start asking questions, figure out where you are, what's going on, what's hurting, what's not, what are you doing. I mean that's what your MRI does, but in a financial sense.
Yeah, I can really get like an X-ray. I can really look deep into what you're doing in your portfolio, and I won't get into the details until we talk about that on maybe the next show, but we really got to look at what's the strength of, as I say, your fiscal health.
Yes.
A firm foundation. Are you invested in? I see 401ks, even those of you that are still working, and you have a 401k. You're allowed to take that money and roll it to an IRA.
Yes.
And develop a portfolio designed for you. I've done it hundreds of times, and even to this day, I had someone this week that didn't know that he could do an in-service. We call it an in-service rollover. Now you can build the portfolio that's customized to you because that's what we're going to ultimately do.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. I mean, and nothing wrong with an employer vested 401k. Where you've got money, but why not do the best you can with it and make it work most efficiently for you and for your needs? Not just here's this thing the company gave me or the company provides for me. I'll just kind of leave it there and let it sit.
You're restricted on your options.
Right.
And that's how we can bring that additional value because many of you, your nest egg, which is a good chunk of your net worth, is in your 401k. So I definitely encourage you, text me, email me, call me, and Joe will do those right before we go to the break here. That you want to have your portfolio MRI, and I guarantee, well, I can't use guarantee, but I promise it'll be eye-opening. It'll be eye-opening to you.
And that is the whole key to it. Is the more information you have and the better informed you are, the better off you are and the better decisions you ultimately will end up making, which is what it's all about when it comes.
Informed and educated decisions, and that's addition. When you go to my website, you'll see my book.
There you go.
Let me get my book to you, too.
Absolutely. We will, get the Retirement Survival Guide from Don Ross and Ross Wealth Advisors. You can see about it on the website, and you can make the phone call to the office, 614-545-0277 for the book, or to schedule a one-on-one with Don. Very simply, text, if that's easy for you, which it is easy for everybody. It's 797979, and that's Ross Wealth Advisors. Joe Bradley here with Don Ross, the retirement boss of Ross Wealth Advisors, and we're discussing retirement planning versus retirement income planning. It's just a one word, but big difference, right, Don?
Absolutely. Significant difference, Joe. Retirement planning is about growing your assets, like in your 401ks, your IRAs, deferred comp. So when you retire, you have that money to enjoy that abundant retirement. Retirement income planning is different in our area of expertise. Remember, when that paycheck stops, everything changes. Are your assets positioned and invested properly to generate reliable income, regardless of what happens on Wall Street or Main Street, and more importantly, how long you live?
So Ross Wealth Advisors is really about specializing in this, right?
Absolutely. Any mistakes during this phase of your life could be catastrophic.
Whether you're retired or within 5 years of retiring or just have concerns about whether you're going to have enough money, call Don's office and schedule a complimentary visit. The number is 614-545-0277, or you can simply visit rosswealthadvisors.com. We're back on the Abundant Retirement Show, a service of Ross Wealth Advisors. Don Ross, the retirement boss, is here with me today on another beautiful morning. And we've been discussing, well, over the past few weeks, actually, been discussing the myths of retirement. And there are 4 of them, and we are up to number 4. Before we get to that, let's real quickly make sure that people are aware that they can get your retiree survival guide. It's
my book. Yep.
Your book. Yeah, it's absolutely free of charge. Or I'm sorry, it is complimentary.
Yes,
as you like to say.
We don't say free. You get what you pay for, right?
Well, but then in this case, you get far more than you pay for.
Well,
it being complimentary, it provides you a great deal of information and thought starters, if nothing else.
And here's why I wrote it. So Joe calls it a survival guide. It is a book, but I made it like a survival guide, like I was handed in boot camp in 1982 in the Army, and it teaches you all the things to do to survive, in the woods and jungle and combat if you're hurt. So I wrote it. It's 10 chapters, and it's about all the things that I think are important to those type of families out there that we can bring the best value, who are, frankly, listeners to this show or this podcast. So it's very important. And last week, I had another gentleman who read it. Ironically enough, he was a former Marine. He said, "This is great. I'm 60-some years old. I've never done any planning." He saved very well. And he's like, "I didn't know these things you wrote about. It's large print. It's about a 2-hour read. So highly encourage you to do it. It's not on Amazon. That's the business model I've chosen. I want to hand it to you directly or mail it to you so we can have a conversation." And
it's absolutely yours. You can, as you're reading through it and the brief amount of time that you'll spend reading it, have a pen handy. Write some comments in the book as you go.
And if you don't like it, use it to wedge open a door. All right?
You can do whatever you want to with it. But I'm relatively certain that almost everyone who reads through your book is either going to make some notes to themselves in the book, or they're going to make mental notes. And when they do call your office and get in touch and set up a one-on-one with you, they're going to have questions.
I love it.
That's that really is, that's the genesis of what you do, is getting people to start asking the questions. And the first question, the ultimate question is, Don, when can we meet? When can we get together and sit down for 45 minutes and have a one-on-one and, get to know one another and then get started on things? That's the most important question. The other questions are just going to lead you up to that. And a lot of those do come from your book, The Survival Guide.
Well, the idea is I'm a big believer if you, the consumer, is educated, you're more empowered. Especially if you feel like you're not getting the answers you want from any kind of advisor you have now. This book will empower you to make those decisions and or ask certain questions that many in this industry don't like being asked.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure there are reasons for that, which you could go into greatly. And, I'm not as familiar with it, obviously, as you are. You aren't beholden to a big company. You don't have to push a product that, that a particular big company might want for all of its representatives to make sure they get out there in the market. Yeah. Yep. That's not what you do. You operate in what's the best interest of your client.
Yep.
That's a big difference.
That's why I went independent, because one of the big, large firms out there that I was with, it was very restrictive. And I always use an analogy, okay? Many of you may not know exactly what you want, and we can help you with that. Some of you know what you want, but I liken it to this. If you walk into a Chevy dealer, okay, but you really have on your mind, you're kind of thinking about a car that's really called a Volkswagen.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Are you going to get what you want? No, you're going to get a car.
Not.
You're going to get a Chevy. Nothing wrong with Chevy.
No.
But you didn't want that. Or, you walk into a bass boat shop and you're thinking about a Sea Ray. That's another brand.
Right.
You're not going to get what you want. And our industry can sometimes pigeonhole you where you need to be. And that's why I left the big firm.
And from their perspective, it's understandable. They're in the business of selling their product.
Transactions, yep.
And, that's okay. And that's okay. That's what they do. But that isn't necessarily, and in most cases probably not, in your best interest as the person who is looking for the plan that is going to take them through the last stage of their life and their enjoyable, abundant retirement.
And then part of it is I love educating the consumer, aka you out there listening, whether you're 50 or 75 or 80, to make the best decisions. Now, I may sit down with 10 families. Now, I define family as a couple or maybe a widow, widower, singles, whatever. And you know what? We might be a really good fit for 2 or 3. And if you did read my book in advance, you're going to read and go, this firm's too conservative. Well, we are conservative. Or, boy, I like what he's saying, and we have a basis to maybe take step 2.
And then that's how it works.
It works very, very well that way.
And then there are that, 6 or 7 out of that 10 people that it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for them. Whether, it's that they feel you are too conservative, not aggressive enough, not risky enough, which again, you can, I guess if you want to be risky, that's fine, but you know what comes with risk.
Well, I take everybody through an exercise and I can help pretty much figure out where they need to be. Just by a one-on-one conversation we have and 30 years of my experience of doing this. And so anyhow, let's get into myth 4.
Yeah, let's get back to myth 4, which is what we're here about today. And that myth 4 in the myths of retirement is that having a financial plan is enough. Now, don't let that sound contrary to what Don says all the time, which is you must have a written plan in place. You must have a written income plan. But having a financial plan is not just enough.
Right.
I mean, it sounds contrary, but it's not. Explain how it isn't.
Here's why. So I would even say, even my office, as soon as that plan is inked, change is going to happen. So we have to amend it. We talked about interest rate changes, health changes, inflation, taxes. A lot can change quicker than you think. I'm 55, and yesterday I was 35.
Yeah.
And so
I'm still
changes.
12 mentally, so I'm never giving that up as far as I'm concerned.
I was having lunch with a friend the other day, and we were bringing up a reference of a fun time we had.
Yeah.
It was 1987.
Yeah,
we had that
don't
fun.
start with that. Yeah, it's like, well, you remember that was a couple of years ago when we did, it wasn't a couple of years ago, Don, it was 12. And like, oh, was it really? It was 12 years ago? Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I thought that was yesterday. So life's all about curveballs. You need to have a plan in place that's written, that's changeable every year, because change will happen. And that brings me to the point again, the biggest change that I think a lot of people are afraid of is, hey, this money I put aside, and whether you're single, married, divorced, widowed,
it doesn't matter.
You've saved either $250 or more, and I can help you look at your portfolio to make sure it's positioned for where you are at this stage of your life, okay? And we want to study, and I won't throw out about a bunch of fancy words, but I want to just study, hey, will this thing sustain you to and through retirement, which is what I want to do for you.
Which is another key element that I don't mean to beat the dead horse, but it is important to remember that, that the reality is so many people, unfortunately, and I think wrongly, look at retirement as a goal to attain. It's like as though they're running a marathon, and as soon as they hit the finish line, well, they're done. That's it. Okay, now I just need to just lay down and recover, but I don't have to do anything else. It's really not that way. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. When you hit your retirement, the day you decide to retire, that's the beginning of the marathon, and you have to make sure that you've got enough juice to make it the 26 miles.
And it should be, I believe, your best is yet to come as you approach in retirement. And, we talked about in the past shows, the go-go years, the no-go years, and I believe my clients that I sit down with every day that your best is yet to come. You're kind of settled into the way you are, and whether you have a spouse or not, significant other, you should really be looking forward to some really great times in your life.
That is what you're doing it for, isn't it? We're all doing everything. That's what we live for, is that, it sounds selfish in a way, but it's me time or us time.
Right.
It's when you don't have other responsibilities that take you away from, or at least you have maybe a reduced load of responsibilities.
Yeah, grandkids.
Yeah. Hey, but that's a joy too. That's a joy. And maybe that is what you're looking forward to in your abundant retirement, is having more of your own time to spend with your grandkids.
Oh, there's people that, they change their whole daily schedule around local grandkids, or we're going to take a trip to see the grandkids or whatever. So, I focus on, in my office, when I sit down with you one-on-one, and again, you can go to the website, and the landing page will show you kind of a video of me sitting with clients, our office. I want you to be familiar and get to know who we are, because sure, you're hearing me on the radio or a podcast, and you might be, oh, it's just another talking head. Well, I don't think so. I want to look and personalize, help you make good decisions. I focus on quality of life. In fact, our first visit is all about who are you, what do you want to do, and maybe you don't know, and I'd love to coach you through that.
Absolutely.
And help you figure out a plan, but you need to have a plan sooner than later, and I want to offer that to you. If you call 614-545-0277 or text 797979, in that message of the text, you'd say, Don, I want to visit, or
Let's meet.
MRI,
I'm interested.
or
MRI,
yeah.
anything.
Whatever you want. We communicate by text all the time. I just wanted to have an easy number for you to remember if you were driving, or hit me up directly, and that's Don at rosswealthadvisors.com. So if you've saved at least $250,000, I'm confident I could bring you tremendous value. Whether we work together or not, you would leave empowered with some education you can do yourself, or maybe you go back to your other advisor and put them to work.
And say, hey, I've got some questions.
Yeah.
I've got some questions and I need some answers.
Yeah, they don't like that call when they're, hey, I'm coming in, I got questions.
Don't. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they may not call you back. Myth number 4 is that having a financial plan is enough. And one of the reasons that that's a myth is that things can change. I mean, things do change for people.
Yep.
As you mentioned, you get the plan in place today. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? And a lot of things do happen for people.
Yeah, so great story. Julie and Frank live on the east side, and a couple I met in 2010. They were 55 then. They were planning to retire in 2012. Okay, this is a little bit of an old story. Everything's going fine until a little thing called a stroke happened.
Yeah.
Frank's laid up, and they weren't a client at this time. So
there's a big change right there.
We had to fix some things, and their portfolio, if you remember 2008, had lost quite a bit, and so we need to make a big change in their life. And he was an athletic kind of guy, and now he's disabled, and he recovered a few years later. But their portfolio they had when in 2010 was recovering from about a 40% drop.
Yeah.
And so we developed a whole different plan for him, because the excuse the expression, the kid managing this was a nephew, and it was, a heavily stocked portfolio that was not really diversified, and he really got hammered, but they thought everything's in good shape. So we have market portfolio loss because of that inadequate diversification that I can uncover in your portfolio if you have that with my MRI. But he had a stroke too.
Yeah.
And that created additional stress, strain, and financial impact.
So you got medical and the market. Both, were negative impacts on his plan.
So, it was great to be able to bring them on and bring them value and show them a future. Now, we had to delay that retirement of 2010 or 2012 a few years. But you know what? They're retired now, and they're enjoying a great retirement because they have a solid plan in place.
And that is the key right there, the solid plan in place. Although just a plan is not enough, but it is indeed one of the key elements of your abundant retirement.
It's the firm foundation, and we're going to amend it every year.
That is what it is built upon, a firm foundation. And Ross Wealth Advisors and Don Ross, the retirement boss, there to get you started with the first look at things, the financial MRI, which will get you started in the right direction, and it's never too soon to do that. Right now is a fine time as well. Pick up the phone, call Ross Wealth Advisors at 614-545-0277. You can schedule the one-on-one with Don. It's not going to be someone, it's going to be Don. So when you call Ross Wealth Advisors, you're calling for Don Ross.
Yep, you'll call me. Now, you may get a call back from Nikki or Renee, but if you want to sit down, we'll sit down, and it'll be you and me. I'm not going to pass you off to anybody. So.
Absolutely not. The website is really simple, rosswealthadvisors.com. You can email Don directly, don@rosswealthadvisors.com, or simply send a text. It's so easy to do. You can text Ross Wealth Advisors at 797979.
Even if you send in a smiley face,
yes,
send it in.
That'll
Try
work.
it out.
Smiley faces are good.
Or if it's frowny, then we got work to do maybe. So.
Exactly. Have a great day and join us next week here on Rewind.